How's it going, people? In this video, we're going to be creating a Windows 11 clone. Exactly what you see on my desktop right now. So this is the actual Windows 11 with this background. I'm using the Razor blade. blade. We're going to have these apps right here that you can drag and drop, all of that. And we're going to have a start menu. So we're going to be creating the bottom menu bar with just a start UI. So of course, we're not going to be implementing a lot more features, but just this desktop where you can drag and drop icons and a start menu. I'm gonna try and keep this video short in under 1 hour. I'll just say that I know, but let's try and do that. So yeah, let's get started. First thing I'm gonna do is create a folder. I'm just gonna call it Windows 11 clone, right? And in here, I'm gonna be creating a next app. So the only reason I do next app is so I don't have to work with routers since it comes in built. So let's do that. Npx create next app, and I'm gonna do it in the current directory. I'm gonna pause the video, then come back when it's done. Okay, so the installation is done. Let's open the folder on VS Code. So what I'm gonna do right here is code slash that, or you can use any editor of your choice, and open it there. But once you have it open, we're going to be installing Material UI. So the frameworks we're going to be using is Material UI on the front end as a library, and we're going to use React-DND, which is a drag and drop library, and it is the biggest one out there for drag and drop. So we're going to be using that one. I don't know if we have anything else, but let's install Material UI first. So sorry, going to the Material UI's homepage, and then going to installation. So getting started, and then installation, and then copy. Where is it? Yeah, copy this one. Or if you're using Yarn, copy the Yarn one. I'm gonna copy that. Now we're not gonna be using style components, so let's do emotion. Um, terminal, and paste it in there. So while that installs, like always, let's open Paint and break down our components. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna have is the entire page, right? It's the entire home page where you're gonna have some sort of desktop. So let's take a blue one now. We're gonna have some sort of menu. So wait, some sort of background, right? So this background will cover the entire page, right? Not just above the menu, but the entire page. And this desktop or this background will have icons on top where you can drag and drop. But then we're gonna have another thing where maybe a different color, and the menu is gonna be on top of that, right? So the menu is gonna be on top of that. And the reason I said that is, if you look closely, I'm not sure if you can see it on the video, but if you look closer, this background actually extends to the bottom, and it's blurred out a little. So we're gonna try and like use the same effect where the background is the entire thing, and we reduce a little green here. There's blue and a little blue, but it kind of blurs it out. And yeah, we're gonna have icons right there, icons, and then another component for the toolbar, which is gonna open the entire menu. Yeah, the entire menu. I think we're going to be using Material UI's toolbar since that's the best one I know. And yeah, there's going to be icons in there similar to this, so icons in here as well. I might not do the tab thing where you can scroll, but just like one page of icons. And yeah, let's see if the installation is done. Yeah, so this is installed. Let me do an npm run dev. It's npm run dev for next, and it's npm start for normal React app. So while that's starting, let's create our project structure, right? We're gonna have a source folder. Let's start with that, and then we're gonna figure the rest out. So I don't know if you guys can see this recording thing, the recording software that I'm using. But anyway, in here inside the source, we're gonna components. Okay, we're also gonna have containers. So basically, containers are just not a page exactly, but it's a group of components. That's what I use containers for. Um, we're gonna have utils as well. And the reason we're gonna have utils, and I'm gonna copy it from somewhere. I had this beforehand. We're gonna copy like some sort of utils that that are just a list of apps and icons and yeah, apps and icons really. Yeah, and you can go to my GitHub. I'm gonna put a link to the GitHub for this project. You can go to the GitHub and copy that as well. But let's see if it has started. Localhost 3000. There we go. So we do see a basic React app, right? Yeah, perfect. Oh, one thing that I forgot is inside the next config, we wanna have next images, and that basically helps us use the img tag, but we're forced to use the next images tag. So you can use either if you prefer that. You can use that. But let me stop the project and install two things. So npm I next images, that's the one, and the other one is plugins, right? That composes all the plugins, and next images is a plugin, so you're gonna see. So next compose plugin, next compose plugins, next images, next compose plugins. Okay, let's do that. And then while that's happening, let me import them here as well. So const with plugins is equal to, we're gonna require, I don't even know if this video is gonna be under an hour. Probably not. But yeah, we'll see. Next compose plugins. Oh, that's installed. Okay. And then const next images is equal to require next images. Next images. All right, cool. Oops. So modules that export. We're gonna export plugins, right? So with plugins. Sorry. So if you've used Redux, you know there's Redux Compose as well, where you can compose a lot more other high order components. So it's something similar. And then it takes an array. So we're gonna say next images is one plugin that we want to use, and then yeah, just what it's gonna return. So images, and yeah, just do what? Just follow me. This all comes from the docs. Static images. Okay, perfect. Save it and then make sure you save it first before you npm run dev, or you're gonna have to restart your server. Npm run dev. Okay, so the server is started. If I refresh again, there we go. Perfect. So we have a basic setup done for our app, and that took 7 whole minutes. But yeah, let's go to the next thing. The first thing that I actually want to do is install theming, right? So Material UI's theme library, and I'm gonna use this color. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I do this, I'm going to personalize, and I select colors. You can view colors, and you get these four colors. So the current theme that I have with my Windows 11 is these four colors, right? So I have the hex codes for these four colors, and we're going to create that, and we can easily access all of these colors in our app then, right? Instead of using the hex code over and over again, just in case if you want to do theming for a different color, or if you want to change the color in the future, you don't want to go to your app and like just you go and like change it one by one in every single spot. But let's go into our app.js, and we have an index, right? So in our app.js, we're gonna import a couple things, or we're gonna write a couple things first, right? First, I'm gonna copy this. Again, this comes from my utils as well. I'm just gonna copy and paste it here. Paste it here. So these are the 4 or 5 colors that we're gonna use. That gray is again, so like this gray right there. I think there's the darker gray and the lighter gray. So there's both the dark and normal gray. And then let's create the theme. So I just had COVID like the past few days, and yeah, I'm just coughing a lot, so ignore that. Sorry. But yeah, const theme is equal to create theme, and we're gonna import that from MUI Material UI. Okay, and to create a theme is pretty simple, right? You just give it a palette. Okay, and we're gonna be using the dark theme. So if you see over here, my entire Windows 11 is like dark with white text and stuff, right? So dark dark background with white text, and it's just a dark theme, right? So let's do a palette, and the palette takes in a mode, and this is a must required variable. So let's give it a dark, and you see that suggestion that came directly from Material UI, and yeah, we're gonna pass in the primary colors and probably the background colors as well. Let's just give it all the colors in here. So we're gonna use the spread operator to give it all the colors, and control CVV and then change it to background. Background. Cool. So we've created the basic theme. All we have to do is pass in a provider and yeah, there we go. So let's do this, right? We're gonna say theme provider. Okay, so basically the provider will give the theme, and we're gonna pass in this variable, right? So this theme provider will give our theme to our entire application, whatever the child element is. So let's paste it there, and then let me prettify it, and there we go. And one more thing, to apply the theme, we're gonna import CSS baseline. Again, that comes from Material as well. So CSS baseline, and I think that's good. Oops. Let's just do this, right? Theme is equal to theme. Save. Okay, let's see if that did anything. Probably not. We're gonna use Material UI elements to see the difference later. But I think if we don't get an error, I think this should be okay. Let's just get rid of this CSS as well. I don't think we'll need it. Save. Oh, there we go. There we go. See, so everything is dark themed. Of course, this might be coming directly from the CSS or something. I don't know. Like that's the reason, or maybe like the background. But yeah, we're gonna get rid of all of this and use Material UI's elements and start creating our app. So I think what else do we have for the index? I think that's all right. So let me save this. Now we're gonna go to the index.js and I'm gonna remove everything. So just remove everything. Do RFCE enter, and if you don't know what that is, it's an extension. If you search for React, this extension right there. So it gives you a couple shortcuts where the last time I probably wrote this thing on my own was like I don't even know. But yeah, anyway. So let's name this to home. So we're just gonna have one page, and we're gonna use index for that only. I'm not gonna create a pages folder and structure it even more, but just that. And I'm gonna use box as my div, right? So Material UI's box is my div. There we go. And hello, let's just see if that works, right? There we go. So we have a whole page with a hello. And yeah, where do I start from? So inside here, we're gonna have two things, right? Two more divs. So this div is gonna be the homepage list of apps, okay? And then the other div is gonna be the menu bar. So the first one is gonna be the apps on the homepage, and the second one is gonna be the menu bar, right? So another box, menu bar. Let's save that. Let me see if we got them both. By the way, I don't know if this is too small, but how do I increase the size? View, appearance, zoom in. Okay, there. I hope this is better. I remember in my last video series, like so many people complained about the size. But that's what she said. Okay, where am I? Alright, cool. I'm gonna import a couple things now, right? The utils and the public. So inside the public, I'm gonna store all my images, and inside the utils, I'm gonna store a couple things. So let me download this from my GitHub. Don't copy the code. Try not to copy the code, but download this from my GitHub, and let's do this. So public, I'm gonna copy the icons folder and the background. Okay. I don't want to move it. Copy and then public. Paste. Where's paste? Let me open this in File Explorer. Reveal. Okay, public. Paste. Okay, cool. So the icons is going to be just a list of icons. So we have system icons, for example, the battery, Cortana, sound, a folder, the Windows start bar. I couldn't find this exact start bar, but if you do find it, or if you even find the actual real icons for like all of this, just I don't know, let me know, and I can update it. And for the apps, like for example, these apps right there, I got a list of couple icons. I googled the icons, and I forgot. I used an icon pack. I kind of forgot which icon pack it was, but just so I give them credits, oh man, I might leave it in the description, but I don't remember it. But yeah, so this is a list of icons that we have, and yeah, and the background. So that's what I pasted right there. And then inside the utils, I'm gonna paste in one more thing, right? One more thing. So let's go inside the source and then utils. And I'm gonna show you what this utils is, and I should have probably named it better, but anyway, source and paste it in there, and yeah, I guess that's all we need to paste. And basically this utils is basically just imports all the icons, all the yeah, icons of the apps, and paste it. So we're going to create an array of desktop icons. On the desktop there's going to be like this many apps. You can do your own as well. And then pinned apps are basically when you open start, you see the pinned apps right there. So there's 18 right there. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 times 3 18. Yes, there's 18 right there, and there's recommended, which is like 3 sorry 6 right there. So recommended there's 6, and then there's taskbar apps as well, which are these apps down here, right? What else do we have? And then there's a couple more small icons, for example Cortana, or the menu icon, which is this menu, and then a calendar and battery, just in case, right? So I exported a couple stuff. You can copy and paste this, and make sure this is the only thing you copy. Don't copy the rest of the app, like you won't learn anything again. But sorry, let's close this, and let's go back to our index page, right? And let's start styling the entire app. So let's do this. I'm gonna use the transparency to make it a little transparent, so you can see the back in the background. It's Control Alt X for me, or Z, and there's an extension as well for it, which is called glass. um, yeah, it's this one here, glass at VS Code, this one right there. But you can increase the transparency of your VS Code background. But let's start, right? So in here for the styles, I'm gonna use inline stylings for all of them, right? The emotions, Material UI emotions. I really enjoyed like the make styles from the previous version. I have no idea why they got rid of it. It like kept everything much more organized and much more like, I don't know, easy to view and easy to read. But this is just terrible. But we're gonna do what your docs say. So anyway, let's give this a height. So the entire application is gonna have a height, a fixed height of 100 VH. So 100 view height, so you cannot scroll up and down. We're gonna disable that. And the same thing for the width as well. So the width is gonna be 100 VW, so 100 view width. And then overflow hidden, just in case. I don't think anything in our app will overflow, but just in case you don't want like our windows to have a scroll bar to the left and right, right? And then the background, let's import the background, right? So the background is gonna come from import background from we're gonna import it from the public, and then slash background jpg. I should have compressed that image, jpg. And then let's do this. So we're gonna say the background is gonna be follow me, right? A linear gradient. So this is what's gonna bring in the effects of the blurriness and all of that, right? And actually no, the linear gradient, I'm gonna show you what it's gonna do. But linear gradients, RGBA, so a black. So this is gonna have like a small black overlay on top of the background, and I'm gonna tell you why. But let's give it a transparency of 0.1, 0.1. Okay, let me just paste this in, bloody hell, just in case I do a typo. Right there. Okay, so basically the reason I do this is we have a background, right? I don't know if I can open it in video, but we have a background. Now if you put in apps that have like a bluish icon, or maybe like if the apps go down here with a white text, it's gonna be hard to read that, right? We have two options now: either add an overlay on all the or an outline on all the text and the icons, or we can have like a darkish overlay on top of the entire background, a light black overlay that you can read the text more easier. So you're gonna see the effect when we actually put in the apps and stuff. But yeah, let's import the background, and then we're gonna do a couple things, right? So the background position is gonna be centered, center, so right in the middle, so center. And then one more thing, the background size is gonna be cover, so it's gonna go like it's gonna cover the entire page. Background size cover. And then a couple things for this. The menu bar is going to be at the bottom, so let's do that. We're going to set bottom 0px, right? We want to stick it to the bottom, and because the position will be fixed at the bottom, let's give it a position of fixed as well. Fixed. And yeah, I think that's good. Oh yeah, look at that. So we have the apps. I don't know if the apps height is 100% or it just stops there, but we have the menu bar at the bottom. We have the apps that's gonna take in all of that height, right? So let's do that. So just in case, I don't know if it already is, but if it's not, sx height 100%. There we go. Save. Okay, perfect. And have a look at this, right? So if I do this, if I get rid of that, okay, if I get rid of that, I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference, but if I save, you see there's a, you see it become brighter, and if I bring this back in, Control Shift Z, no, okay, never mind. Okay, if I bring this in, there's gonna be a slightly black overlay on top of the entire background, and then if I save, you see it becomes a bit darker, and that's gonna make the white text stand out even more. Yeah, you could do that, or you can have like a white text with a black outline to make it more readable. Either way, so let's save that. I don't know if you have anything else, but let's create the components for our apps and our menu bar next. So we're gonna go into 1 second. Sorry, had to cough. But anyway, we're gonna go into our containers, and we're gonna create a container for the apps and menu bar. Remember, a component is an individual component, and a container is a group of components, right? That you can probably reuse in multiple places as well. So let's go into containers, and then we're gonna create a new folder called apps. We're gonna have another folder for the menu. Okay, the menu bar. Sorry. Menu bar, and then one more folder for this menu itself, right? So there's gonna be a menu bar, which is this thing down here, and this is gonna be the menu itself. So one more new folder, menu, and that's it. In each of these, again, we're gonna use the RFCA trick. So new file, index.js. So again, you can just create a file inside the containers called apps.js, or you can create a folder and then have index.js in there. So every time you refer to apps, it's going to look for an index in there. I prefer the folder method just in case you have more than one file, so it keeps it more organized. But because this is a small app, I don't think we'll have multiple files, so you can do it basically inside the containers folder itself. But it's just a personal preference. So RFCE, we're gonna call this apps, and I'm just gonna say apps right here for now. Same thing for menu, new file, index.js, RFCE, menu, and I'm just gonna say menu here, save. Gonna close this so it doesn't get congested. And then menu bar, same thing, index.js, RFCE, oops, control space, that, and then menu bar, and I'm gonna say menu bar in here just so we can see it and start save. And let's import this inside our original index.js. So here we're gonna say apps, does it not bring it up? Apps, we're gonna have to manually import that, I guess. And in here we're gonna have the menu bar. Oh, that did it. Menu bar, let me just do the same thing for apps. So this and that, apps. Okay, cool. I imported those. I think that's it for this page really. Like we've done like the initial layouts to say, so the initial layout of the entire application. Now we just have to go into the individual. We're gonna do the apps last, by the way, since we're gonna have to install the drag and drop library and then implement the drag and drop, which is slightly complicated, but it's really simple at the same time as well. But let's start with the menu bar first, and once we have done the menu bar, we're gonna do the menu thing, like the menu itself, and then we're gonna do the apps next. So 20 minutes in, I think like we can do each of those in 10 minutes and like probably end it under 1 hour. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, I'm creating this Windows 11 series just because I haven't seen this tutorial on YouTube, like a React Windows 11 clone. So if you have any other ideas that's unique, that's not out there already, just drop it in the comments, and yeah, I will for sure like work on it and release it. Get a free video of it. But anyway, let's go to our menu, right? And where is it? Menu bar, sorry. Oh, menu bar. And let's start in here. So first, a couple things I want to do. Let's bring in a box, right? I like using box instead of the div. Keep everything material UI if you're using material UI, right? Don't mix it up. And then this menu bar is gonna have a background color. Let's say SX. Okay. What we can do here, since we have the background inside the app, right? We can use the theme. So basically, now this is how you use the theme, right? You give it a callback function, and the callback function will pass in a theme, and you can just return it. So now you can use the theme, and the theme will have all of these colors. So inside the theme, we can give it a width of we're gonna give it a full width, right? 100 VH, right? Or 100% will do as well, but yeah, even 100% will do. By the way, it's the same thing really in our case. Our height is going to be 50 px, or you can do just 50, right? So again, material UI will take 50 as 50 px. So this height is going to be 50, and then oh, by the way, I'm not sure how responsive this is going to be for mobiles. I'm going to go through a desktop first approach and then a mobile. So I'm going to create everything for it to be pixel perfect for desktop, and then we might have small stuff that will make it like mobile responsive as well, right? I'll just do mobile and desktop. I won't go to tablets and smaller screens and all of that. But yeah, so we have the height. Let's do a background color and oops, color, and right here we can do a theme dot palette dot background dot gray. Okay, and this thing right there, it comes from theme dot palette dot background and then gray, right? And oh, by the way, like you can go to the material UI docs, and there's a lot more. There's background, there's typography, there's I don't know, so many other stuff, right? That comes inside this object. So basically, with this theme, we're only overriding this stuff right there. So the theme and the typography and other objects will still remain. We're just overriding what we write inside the theme. But yeah, so we've overridden the colors inside the background, so we can use that right there. Background dot gray. I think it's a light gray, right? It's a light gray. I don't know, but we're gonna have a blur on it. Remember what we talked about the blur? So we're gonna say backdrop filters, right? Backdrop fill. How did I get the suggestion? Oh, filter. Okay. We're gonna give it a blur of 2 px. Let's save that, and let's go back here. There we go. Did a blur actually happen? The blur did not happen. Oh, I know the reason why. So basically, see what I'm gonna do, right? D9, and oh, there we go. So you know what that is? So basically, you know how hex colors are something like let me go to Notepad, right? Hex colors look something like this, right? So 0000, which is a black, like 6 zeros, for example, and then there's other there's if you Google it, right? Hex transparency. I just found out about this recently, which is like pretty cool as well. For transparency, so you can add 2 more digits at the end, which help with the transparency. So there we go. You have a whole list, right, of 100%. So I'm using D9, which is 85% transparency. So this is like saying use the black color with hex, and if I do a D9, it's gonna take the hex color, and the last one like the transparency. So you can refer to this for as much as transparent as you want. I think we're gonna use another transparency somewhere else in here as well. I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's where it comes from. So where are we? There we go. So you can see it's a bit more. You can increase the blur as well. So if I increase it to maybe like 3 px, it's gonna be more blur, but I kind of like this one. But you can change the blur to whatever you want, right? So there we go. And now we're gonna do a couple things. So we're gonna create a stack, right? And basically material UI has an element called stack. Okay. Sorry. And a stack is basically a div with a grid of flags. So oh sorry, with a display of flags, right? Or and if you've used in the previous material UI versions, if you've used the grid containers and grid items, it's pretty much the same thing where it has like spacing, it has like the alignment, it has the justification, it has what else? It has I don't know. I don't know, but it has a couple elements, right? And we're gonna say like the direction, for example, row and column as well. But yeah, so it's basically just that. And stack. Okay, did it not import? Why is it on the line? Okay, never mind. Okay, so it's just gonna be a display of flags, and it's gonna take in all these icons as a child, and you're gonna see what's gonna happen, right? So we're gonna set the direction is equal to row. Okay, so column is up and down, and row is side by side, and there's row reverse and other stuff as you can see. We're gonna align all the items. No, align items center, and basically what this will do is if we have multiple items, one might be smaller than the other, for example, they'll all be aligned in the center of each other, like vertically. And we're gonna have a spacing as well, spacing of, let's try 1. Oops, there's no comma right there. Spacing of 1. And let's give it a height of 100% just in case it doesn't take a full height. 100%. And we're gonna say a padding left. So if you see these icons, that the first icon has the first padding left, right? This padding left, and this padding left is basically 1.8. So PL 1.8, and these numbers, this 1, this 8, this 1.8, basically Material UI calculates it as times 8. So if you say a 1.8, right, 1.8 times 8 is going to be 14px, 14.4px. If you have just 1 times 8, it's gonna okay, it's gonna be 8px, right? So every 1 you give it is an 8px. So you can give it like 0.5. That's actually the 0.5. 1 is gonna be a lot more as well. Oops. 1 is gonna be a lot more. So let's give it 0.5, and that's gonna be 4px between every item, right? Save, and in here we're gonna create our first component now. The component is going to call the menu button, so the individual button, right? So let's create a new folder, menu button, and in here new file, index.js, and again we're going to do the RFCE trick. Okay, RFCE. Okay, call it menu button, and let's just give it a button, right? The Material UI's button again. We're gonna do everything with Material UI. Button, let's give it some styles. So the height is going to be 40px, the width is going to be 40px as well. It's going to be a square, of course. Oh my days, my typing is terrible. 40, and then when we hover, it's going to be something that happens, you see. So I think Material UI automatically does a hover, or I'm not sure if it does. It probably does, but we're gonna give it a different color. So this background color is probably whitish a little, right? It's whitish, so we're gonna give it a white background color, right? So when we hover, so we're gonna say and when we hover, okay, we want to do something. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna say the background color is gonna be RGBA. So a white, I think Material UI has background.common.white if I'm not mistaken. 255, and then a small transparency, 0.5. And then it's gonna take in a couple props, right? So it's gonna take in an icon. It's gonna take in the children maybe. So the children is gonna be the button name, and then just in case if you have any other props, let's bring that in as well. Okay, so the other props is gonna be so after the SX, let's do that. So if you do pass in any other props, for example, a different, I don't know, any other props from a parent element, it's just gonna apply it right there. And then inside the button, it's gonna take in children. There we go. Do we even need an icon really? I don't know if we need an icon. The children can have the icon, so let's not bring in the icon. Let's save that. Okay, and now in here we're gonna loop through something, and remember what I said we're gonna loop through before, like in our utils, where's the menu, the pin, no, the taskbar apps. We're gonna loop through this and apply these apps, right? So let's go back to the menu bar. The first step is gonna be the menu, so let's import that ourselves, right? So let's do that. Inside the stack, menu button, let's import that. Click enter, will import it. So on click, oh, so this is one prop that we can do, right? So on click, it's gonna do something, right? just gonna say console log right now. We'll unclick console log. But this button right there, when you click on it, it's gonna open this menu right there. Okay, so unclick. Let's close that. And then for the child, let's bring in an image tag and source. It's gonna be the menu icon. We might have to import that menu icon. So let's import a couple icons actually. So right there. Okay, I'm gonna import a couple icons. The menu Cortana comes second by default, so I'm gonna bring in control Cortana. So I'll disable it on my computer. But the alt text is gonna be the start button maybe, and then the style is gonna be you can clean this up a lot more, but let's do that of 23px, and you're gonna see what that is. Ooh, don't use that. Oh, so Next.js tells us to use the next image tag, and it's recommended not to use the img tag, so let me just disable this for now. But yeah, you can use the next image tag. It's a lot better to do it if you're using next images or Next.js on its own, just because it lazy loads it more. It makes it more efficient in a way, yeah, when importing images. Okay, let's save that and see what we get. um, Holy mother of god, what just happened there? What just happened? So we're gonna say the image is gonna, and the height, oh wait, the height is gonna be that. It's not strings. So if you want to use strings, then you have to write in the px, but if you don't want to use strings, then you don't. There we go. So we have that, right? And it's more rectangle than square. We're gonna fix that as well. But let's bring in a couple more icons. Why the rectangle, by the way? I don't think it's supposed to be. Maybe give it a width as well. But anyway, let's bring in the second icon. Okay, the second one is gonna be the Cortana icon, and then we're not gonna have a no click for that. Save that. We have the Cortana. Bloody hell, why is it like that though? Yeah, we'll see. And then the third thing is we're gonna like loop through all the icons, right? So the taskbar icons, which comes from the utils file. Taskbar. Why does it not import? Oh, is it called taskbar apps? Oh, it's right there. Okay, let me copy that. Taskbar apps dot map it's gonna take it's gonna pass in our app and maybe just an index, so we can pass it in as a key. Actually, I'm gonna return it directly, and inside here again, menu button. Okay, key is equal to I, or can I say key is equal to app dot name maybe, and then let's give it the image again. Okay, source is gonna be the app dot icon. The text is gonna be the app dot name, and then the heights, because the app icons are slightly smaller, so let's give it a bigger height, and fix this, by the way, Cortana. There we go. Let's save it. And see what we get. There we go. So we've created a bottom menu bar. It has the menu icon. It has that. By the way, why is it not square? I thought we made it square, right? Menu button, height of 40, width of 40. Oh, it's not gonna have a width of 40. Basically, Material UI gives it a minimum width which is higher than 40. So if you see the reason why this is that, is because Material UI's width, like the minimum width of a button, is 60px and not 40. I think it's 60 or 80, but it's not 40. So let's change that minimum width to make it 40. So min width, and you can figure that out if you do inspect, and if you look at this button right there. I select that and then go to that button. Okay, it's 64px by the way. So somewhere in here there's going to be a minimum width. You're going to have to look. Oh, there we go. So minimum width is 64px, and we want to get rid of that. Let's change that to 40px, right? So if I save that, and come back here, and it's so much better. So you can see like aligning this with that, it's aligned perfectly, right? Almost there, almost there. But yeah. So we're done with the bottom menu bar. The next thing we're gonna do is when you click on this, it's gonna open the menu, the menu itself. And yeah, I think that took 10 minutes, right? So that was perfect. All right, so let's move on to the actual menu, which is clicking this button right here, and the menu pops up. We're gonna be using Material UI's menu, or sorry, it's called popover, I think. So let's search for NUI popover. Um, okay, so that's the API. Let's go to the component. And then yeah, so that's exactly what we want. So when we open a popover, the start menu should open, and you can position this thing wherever you want. So I think if we scroll to the bottom right here, we can position it to open to the top, probably the right side. Is it anchor position? Right side anchor element, bottom, something like that, and probably the left side. Yes, or center maybe. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So something like this. That's what we're gonna do. So every time we click the start button, the popover is gonna open. So let's go ahead and like type code the component. It's gonna be under the menu index.js. It's empty right now. So the first thing that we want to do is import the popover. So we won't need a div. I don't think we'll need a div since this button is coming from a different place, and all we need is this toolbar or this menu right there. So let's just bring in the popover. There we go, and then let's close that as well. Popover. We don't even need to close it, or do we? Yeah, we probably have to pass in a child. But okay, so it's gonna take in a few things that's required, right? It's gonna take in an open, so like when it should open and when it should not. We're gonna pass in the open from here, and we're gonna pass in a couple things from the props. So one is gonna be an open, one is gonna be an anchor elements, and I'm gonna show you why and how. And the last one's gonna be a close function. So when we wanna close it, what happens? Okay, so open is going to be the open that we got from the props. Again, the anchor element is going to be the anchor element as well. It's going to be a ref to that menu button. So basically what the anchor element is, the ref to the menu button, the start button. So that's going to be the position of where the menu should open from. So that's going to be the position on your DOM, right? So anchor L, again, that's coming from the props as well. And then it's an on close. It's going to be the handle close function. So that's a couple things. We're going to give in some positions. If you look at the code right here, where is it? Just go to the playground. So there's a couple things here are what you see, right? So there's an ID text, there's an open, anchor, on close, there's an origin, and let's write down the origin as well. So we're going to use a transform origin instead of the anchor origin, and you can play around with it here. So the transform origin is on the right side. All right, so for the transform origin, okay, it takes an object. I don't know why my VS Code does that, but it takes in a vertical and a horizontal. Vertical, that's going to be from the bottom, and then the horizontal, give me suggestions, and that's going to be from the left. Okay, and then another thing is going to be the pepper props, and the pepper props are basically the pepper, which is this thing right there. So basically you see the white thing right there, that's the pepper, right? But let's go in there. Again, it's going to be an object, and basically you can give it edit props, right? So we're going to give it a style, and then the style is going to have a background color of transparent because we don't want it to be this white by default. Background color of transparent, and then by default it also has this box shadow, if you see, so we're going to get rid of the box shadow as well. Box shadow, and we're going to say none. All right, let's give that. Okay, and wait, before we give it a try, I'm just gonna say ABC as a child, so that's gonna be the content of the menu, right? let's just do it just in case. Okay. So const menu content is gonna be something. Okay, let's return it instead of, okay, let's return, and for now I'm just gonna give it a div and say hello. Okay, so instead of the ABC, let's give it a menu content and close it and save. So that's gonna be the menu component initially, but we're still gonna have to figure out what the open is gonna. Okay, so let's open the anchor L and handle close. Let's call that. And I think that's gonna come in from the menu bar components, which is the bottom thing. And the anchor element is gonna be the first menu button, which is the start button. And basically, we have created an on-click function, but that doesn't do anything, right? So let's actually create a function now. And so we're gonna say, where'd I go? So right here, okay, let's create a function called handle click. It's gonna take in an event. Okay, so we're gonna do something with the event. Okay, and also before we do all of that, let's create the state for the anchor element. So const anchor L set anchor L is equal to use state. Is it not auto import that? Use state. Why does it not auto import that? But let's do it then. Use state. Okay, there we go. Okay, so use state, and now every time when we click the menu button, okay, it's gonna call the handle click function, and the handle click function is gonna get a prop by default, which is the event, which is basically the element of this DOM. Oh, sorry, the element of this item. Okay, which is the DOM element. But anyway, and yeah, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna set the anchor element, okay, to something, which is events dot current target. Okay, and that's one. And we're also going to create a function for handle close, which is let me fix that L. Oops. Okay, which basically just sets the anchor L to null. Okay, so when we click on the button, it's going to set the element to this button's position, okay, or its current target. And when you click on it again, or basically with the popover, when you click on anywhere outside the popover, it's going to run the handle close function, which is going to set the element to nothing. So let's pass in, actually let's do one more thing, right? The open, remember there's an open as well. So it takes in an open anchor element and handle close. The open is just going to be basically if the anchor element exists, it's going to be open. If it doesn't exist, it's not going to be open, right? So we can just do that here. We can just say const open is equal to you have two options. Either you can say this and anchor element. Okay, so it's gonna convert the anchor element to a boolean, right? So if it's null, it's gonna be false, or it's gonna be like, yeah, just false. And if it's true, then it's gonna like take it and convert it to a boolean. So if there's a value, then it's gonna be a boolean, which is true. But the other option is, and the better or cleaner option is just convert it to a boolean this way. I don't know if it's cleaner, but it's just something that I prefer. Convert it to a boolean, right? And finally, we're gonna call that menu toolbar, the menu component that we created, somewhere in here. And like you can do it anywhere. So remember, it's not an actual element. It's only an element that appears once this button is clicked, right? So we can call it anywhere. Let's just call it right towards the end. We're going to say menu. Menu. Why does it not auto import? I don't know. Okay, but let's just give it a few elements. Okay, open is open, anchor L is anchor L, and then handle close is gonna be the handle close function. Okay, let's import this menu. Let's import menu from its one step back menu. So again, we don't have to do /index, although you can still do that. We don't have to do /index, because if you just call a folder, it's gonna look for an index automatically inside. But let's save that and let's see what we get. I think we did quite a bit, and it's been like almost 10 minutes for this section, so I don't want to take, it's probably going to take like 10 more minutes. But when I click on that, there we go. So we do see a hello popover, right? So again, see a hello popover. If I click anywhere outside of this, it's going to close it, right? So now we're going to take this one hello thing and convert it to something like that. So this side here has two different sections as well, just like our homepage, right? It has this top section, which is all of the apps and like this buttons and this search bar. It has the bottom section, which is a different background color, and it's just the name and the power button. So let's try and like figure out that logic, right? So let's go back to the contents now. So right here, let's go to the menu, and now we're gonna have to like change this content to something now, right? So again, this way, from what I see, there's gonna be two sides, right? One is the top, one is the bottom. Okay, we can do this. I'm gonna use the stack instead and give the first side a flex of one, so it takes the majority of the space, while the second one, yeah, let's do that. So let's call stack. Okay, and remember, stack is just a normal div with a display of flex. All right. Um, and then in here, there's gonna be two things, right? How do I comment? Bloody hell. Okay, there we go. The top side is all the apps. Okay, all the apps, and the bottom side is the user side. Oh man. Okay, user. Okay, so stack. Let's give it some styles. Okay, the width is gonna be something, the height is gonna be something, and so let's start with the normal width. Or wait, so if I go into a smaller screen, okay, so actually let's do this, right? So if I want to go to a mobile screen, the width and height is gonna be almost the entire page. Not the entire page, but almost the entire page. And when you're on a bigger screen, it's just going to be a small section of the screen, like just a small section, right? So that way we're going to make it responsive for both mobile and desktop. So let's do this. If it's any screen that's not size large, let's give it a height and a width of 93 w. Okay, so like not 100 view height, not 100 view width, but just almost, right? And then a height of 93 or 94. Let's just do one. I have 94 on my notes, so 94 VW, sorry, VW. Okay, and we to go to a bigger screen, we can pass in theme, or let's call theme from all over, because you're going to be using a lot of theme this side, right? So let's say const theme is equal to use theme. Let's import it from a true URI. Okay, so this theme is the same thing as what we did previously, where you give it a theme as a callback function and then return the object, and you can access theme inside that object. But this way we can access theme everywhere inside the component, right? So let's do this. So now when we are on a different size, so let's say when we are theme.breakpoints, okay, dot up, so when we are on a size of LG and higher, let's do something. Okay, let's give it a width of something else. Okay, and for my notes I have this as well, so 640px or just 640. Let me clean that up a little. And then the height of 750. Okay, basically just that. So the size of this, let's save this first. Okay, so look at that. You see that? So the size of the pepper, basically it's going to be that much, like that width and height. And if you're on a smaller screen, if you're on a smaller screen, it's going to be almost the width, almost the height. You can make the width even more, probably like 90. It's a 93. Let's make it like 94 or something. Or yeah, okay, let's just skip it together. So 94. Okay, anyway, so let's start with the user side, because user is really easy. It's just like the name and the icon, but this side is going to be like, it's going to take quite a while, probably like, yeah, a few minutes right there. But let's start with the user side, and the user is going to be another stack, so another grid of flags, which is going to be row, and the spacing, the justification is going to be a space in between. So let's do that. So stack, okay, let's give it a direction of row. Row is a string. Okay, we're gonna align item center, align items So by align items, it's basically vertically they should be centered of each other. So you see how the spark button is in the center vertically and not on the top side and not on the bottom side. So let's align then that to the center. Let's justify a space between now. Justify content space. I don't know why this does that, but space between. So basically between the two elements, it's gonna take up as much space as it can, like an empty space, right? Just that, and then again this thing has a padding as well. So you see there's a padding to the top, the bottom, and then there's also left and the right padding. So let's give that a padding as well. Let's try and make it responsive as well. So let's say styles. Okay, so px, so with emotions you can have padding of the x-axis and py's of the y-axis. Instead of doing padding top, padding right, padding left, padding bottom, all of that, you can just do this, right? So px, okay, so we're going to say for the x-axis, okay, we're going to do something. Let's give it another object, and we're going to say when it's a screen xs and bigger, give it a px of 2, but once it reaches lg and bigger, give it a 4. So anything between xs, so extra small, small, and medium is going to be 2. Once it reaches lg or bigger, so large and extra large, it's going to be 4. Okay, and in here we're going to give it a button. So there's a button that has this thing right there, and there's another button there. Okay, so let's start. The first button is the actual user button. We can turn this into its own component as well. Like that would be the ideal scenario, like to like make everything its own component. But because I'm not going to be reusing it everywhere, and it's just so much easier just typing it here, like I'm just going to do it. But of course, like making it its own component is much better, right? So again, a button, material UI's button. And you can give a button something as well. You can give a button a direction. Remember, a button is also a flex as well. So give it a direction of row. Okay, you can give it a spacing. So the spacing between every element inside the button is going to be of 1. So remember, it's 1 times 8. That's going to be the px. Align content, sorry, is going to be center. So all the content inside the button is going to be centered, and my prettify has not working. Okay, there we go. Okay, center, and then let's give it some styles as well, right? By default, material UI's button makes everything uppercase. So we want to change. They want to give it like whatever case we pass it in, right? We don't want to force an uppercase. So by default, let's say the text transform. We're gonna say inherit of whatever we pass it in, inherit. And then one more thing, when we hover over the button, it's gonna do something. So by the way, let's give it a color of white. Okay, FFF, and then finally when we hover, so let's say end when we hover, let's do something. So let's give it a background color. Oh bloody hell! Color of RGBA 255 255 0.1. I should move this into its own theme as well, like a button color, which makes it white with a 0.1 transparency. That's gonna be so much easier, but as in cleaner. But yeah, I think that's good. And let's give the button some elements as well. So now take an avatar. An avatar is basically just that picture. Okay, it's a material React component. An avatar, and let's give it some styles as well. So make its height and width something. So let's give it a margin right of 1.5, a width and a height of something. So a width of 30 and a height of 30. Again, this isn't px, right? Pixels. And then my VS Code is extremely slow, my prettier. But and then finally a typography. Oh no. Oh no. Typography. I think I might have to restart my VS Code. Let's do it. Like, let me save that first. Save. Oh wait, once I saved it worked. So I think I just need to save. Anyway, so typography, let's import that. And the username. So I'm just gonna say Sam for myself, right? Save, and let's see what we get right now. Okay, there we go. So we have the Sam like that user, and then we're gonna do the right side now. So for the right side, so remember this button was the left side. Okay, now for the right side, I'm just gonna give it an icon button. Okay, we're gonna set size small and then close that. And in here, I'm gonna import a font, an icon. So I think we might have to install it. So MUI icons. We might have to install that library. So let's go right here. Yeah, we'll have to install this one. So copy that or open it in a new tab, and then copy this, and then let's go here. Let's paste it, save it. Okay, so while that's installing, I'm gonna import an icon that's called the power settings new icon. Okay, and I'm gonna show it to you on their website, but let me import it right now. Okay, the power settings new icon, and then in here I can set power settings. Why isn't okay? There we go, new icon, and we're gonna give it some stylings or just a font size maybe. Font size small. Save. All right. Let me npm run dev again. Okay, and that icon basically comes from here. So if I search for power, search. My internet is terrible, like so bad. Refresh again. Okay, let's search for power. There we go. So that's the one. So power settings new icon. Okay, you can copy that, import it, and then use it. So let me minimize that, save, and let's see what we get again, right? So let's go back here and refresh this since we restarted the server and see what we get. There we go. So we have the power on one side and we have the SEM on the other side, right? Which is pretty similar. The power, I guess that's a square, but that circle doesn't really matter. But yeah, we have the name on one side, we have the icon on one side. Again, like the avatar looks slightly different, but it doesn't really matter, right? You can find your own icon, match it, or give it a color or something, and yeah. So yeah, that's the bottom side. We might have to give it a color as well, right? Um, yeah, we'll have to give that a color. So let's go back here. Okay, for the user, let's give it some stylings. Actually, did I give this the wrong styling? Wait, what did I do? One second, one second, one second, one second, one second. So basically, I think I made a mistake, but we're gonna fix that in a bit, okay? Wait, wait, so if I surround this with a box, so let me surround this with a div, okay? Box, okay, close, and then let's surround this tag, so that it's gonna be one element higher, and then let's give it some settings over here. Okay, so we are going to say sx, okay, let's give it a px of 3, a height of 60. So remember, we're coding this side right there, like this bottom element. So we created a div. Right now we're creating the outer div, and the inner div is going to be a stack, right? Which is these two buttons, a stack that holds these two buttons. But right now we're coding the outer div. So we're giving it a height, some padding, the background color, or maybe a border. You see there's a thin border right there. Maybe a border, but yeah, let's do all of that. So height of 60. Okay, a background color of theme.palette dot background dot dark gray. This video might just extend to 2 hours instead of one, but it's okay. Okay, we're gonna give it a border of 1px solid, and because I don't have this color, this specific border in my theme, I'm just gonna hard code it here, but feel free to add it to the theme. 525252, so 525252, which is that color, and then we're gonna have to give it a border radius of the bottom left and right. Okay, so border radius, wait, so bottom border right radius, bottom left of 5, and the same thing for the right, so border radius, and then bottom, we did that with wait, which one did we do? Okay, we did the bottom left. Let me just copy and paste this and change it to right, and give that a 5 as well, a 5. Okay, save, and let's see what we get now. Perfect. So that's exactly what we want, and we're gonna move this to the bottom once we start the top part. Okay, so there we go. Let's go back here, and then now we start with the top part, right? So we created an outer div for that. Let's create an outer div for this one as well. So I should have committed each of these sections while going along, just to make it easier, but it's fine. I'll just do it all at the end. So box, okay, so the outer div, we're gonna give it some styles. So let's create the box first. Okay, it's gonna take in a few things. Okay, so the first thing it's gonna take in is the search, and then it's gonna take in the pinned text, and then the pinned apps, and then the recommended text, and then the recommended apps. Okay, so let's comment each of those out. So we're gonna say the search bar first. Okay, and then we're gonna say the pinned text. Okay, and then it's gonna be the pinned apps. Okay, and then we're gonna have the recommended text, and finally the recommended apps, recommended apps. Okay, let's start with the styles of the outer box. Okay, right there. So sx, we're gonna say that we're gonna give it a padding of 3. We're gonna say a flex of 1. So basically the flex of 1 will make it take as much space as it can get. So it's gonna take in the space from up here all the way down there and push like this element all the way to the bottom. Okay, so a flex of 1. Again, a background color. Okay, of now remember, look at this. If you look closely, this basically, it's easier to say it right there, right? This basically has some sort of blurry background from the outside background as well. So it's not fully solid. It's some sort of transparency. We're going to create that same transparency effect as the menu bar. Okay, so let's go back here and here. Okay, so we're going to give it a background color of theme.palette dot background dot gray and not dark gray, and then we're going to do the same thing and give it a different transparency. So I'm going to say F7. We talked about this before, right? So F7, and then drop filter, backdrop filter of blur and 5px. Okay, and then just a border again 1px solid 525252. Feel free to move this to the theme, and then the again now before we did the border bottoms, now we're gonna do the border top. So let's just bring this in, right? So we're gonna have the border top radius and the border bottom radius, and let's save that and see what we get. There we go. Now there's one small tiny issue that we're seeing right here, where the border right here is doubling from like the bottom side and the top side. So we're going to disable one of them, right? So let's go here and maybe let's disable the one right there. So we're going to say the border top is going to be none. All right, so the border top is none, and let's give that a try. Now, oh, yeah, almost there. Now, one thing that I see is that this is kind of pushed to the top. So what I can do is give this outside div a display of flex and then align the items at the center, or to make it easier, I can just change this to a stack as well. Okay, so it's gonna be the same thing as a div, but with a display of flex, and then it takes in a prop. You can give it a justify content of center, since the direction is the direction. Okay, there we go. So direction is column initially by default, so it gives it we give it a justify. If we change it to direction of row, then we give it an align item center and not justify content center. So basically just interchange the objects when it's column or row. But there we go, so that fixed it. So the user part is fully done. Now we just go to the apps, and the apps like outside part is done as well. So let's create a search bar first. Okay, so let's do a couple things. I kind of want to do it side by side, so let me do that, and then let me do that, and then let me do that. Okay, cool. So let's say text field. Okay, from import again from UI. We're gonna give it a variant of outlined, no, field. So you can check their text field variants on their docs, but variant of field, we're gonna give it a full width. So basically the text field is gonna take the full width, not just like a small portion. Full width. We're gonna give it a size of small. So the height of it is gonna be small compared to what the default one is, which is with the equal sign, small. What else? Let me save this and see first, right? So there we go. Okay, so you see how basically this extra space up is for the label, and we don't want to have a label, so let's hide the label, and it takes in a prop called hidden label. So save it, and yeah, you see what just happened. Okay, cool. Finally, you see how this is dark, like a blackish background, while that one has a whitish background. We're gonna change that. So to do that, okay, we're gonna send the input props. Okay, the input props is gonna be something. It's gonna be an object. Okay, actually a couple things. So we're gonna give it a styles first. Okay, now let me do the other thing first. So you see it has the search icon. Okay, and then probably type to search in or something, but you see it has the search icon. Let's do that. Okay, so we're gonna say the start endorsement, which is like the element that goes in the start, is going to be something. Okay, let's return an object. So a JSX. So input endorsements that comes from a UI. Close that. Let me clean that up a little. Input endorsement, and then we're going to search for a search. Oops, what did I just do? Okay, search. Let me import the search icon. So the search icon comes from the icons page as well. You can search for search, but this is what it's called. A search icon from any icon slash search. Okay, so search icon. Let's close that, and we might give it a font size of small. Let me prettify that a little, and then font size of small. And the input endorsement, we're gonna say the position is at the start. Let's save that. Let me save, and there we go. So the search is kind of inverted, but I couldn't find this icon in Material UI, so I'm going to be using that one. Okay, let's give it a placeholder. Placeholder. Type here to search. Save. Okay, and then yeah, finally let's give it some styles. So the input props, give it a start endorsement, but let's give it some styles as well, and a couple styles. Wait, what did I just do? It's supposed to be that, no, equals, sorry. Wait, does it fall under? No, we don't want it to be under the endorsement. We just want it outside, right? So just give it styles right there. Okay, and then let's do something. So let's do the padding bottom. Okay, so we're gonna, for every element that we do, the search bar is gonna have some padding bottom. The pinned is gonna have some padding bottom. Like this entire app is gonna have some padding bottom, like to accommodate the next one. Okay, so every element is gonna have its padding bottom to accommodate the next one. So let's give it a padding bottom, and let's make this a bit responsive as well, right? So when we are on XS, let's give it 2. And when we're on LG, let's give it a 4. Again, this is just like responsiveness for mobile and desktop, but nothing in between. Okay, and then finally, there's one more style that I want to give it, and that's making this thing a bit blackish and not whitish. Okay, so I'm gonna copy and paste this, but basically, the element has another class name called input field. So if I show you that, if I select the input, there's going to be an input field. So you see how this one has a class name of input field input slash input. We're gonna style that one, right? So if we go back here, so okay, so it's slash roots, it's a different one, but yeah, we're gonna give it a background color of that. When we save it, it's pretty much the same. Guess the text size is different. Let's just get rid of the placeholder. I don't like it anyway. Okay. Yeah, you can figure out. I think like you probably might give it a font size right there, and it might change the placeholder. Inside the input props, there might be another placeholder placeholder styles. But yeah, so we have that. So that's the text field. The next thing we're gonna do is this text right there. Okay. The pinned and all apps. Okay. So let's go with that. So remember, that's a stack with a justify content of space between, and it's gonna one side is gonna be a typography, the other side is gonna be a button. Let's go for it. Okay, so stack. Okay, one side is gonna be a typography, which is gonna say pinned, and then the typography we're gonna give it a variant of body2, which is a text slightly smaller than the default one, which is body1, and for the right side we're going to give it a button. Okay, button. Just this is going to be slightly longer, but size small. Variance of contained. Okay, we're going to disable the elevation on the button, so basically it's not going to have some sort of a shadow or an elevated effect. So disable elevation. Okay, we're going to give it some styles. So for the styles, I'm going to give it this, right? So the first thing I'm going to say is let's give it all the styles from theme.typography dot caption. So caption is another variant in our typography that's even smaller than body2, and then we're going to give it that caption right there. Okay, and then okay, we're going to say a text transform of inherit so again, we don't want it to capitalize everything. A background color and a hover color of something, so let's do that. Okay, there we go. I just copied and pasted. So background color of 2. I really should move this to the theme, but it's okay. Okay, background color of 255 which is white with transparency of like probably 90%. And then a hover color, so when you hover over it, you see how there's a hover effect. By default it's bluish, so I want to change it to white as well, and slightly less transparent than the default one. So let's save that and see what we got. Oh no way. Okay, the stack itself, right? So the stack is gonna have a direction of rows. So it's gonna be side by side and not up and down. And save that, you'll see it side by side. We're gonna set the not the variant, the align items. Okay, align items is gonna be centered. No way. Center. Okay, the justify content is gonna have a space between, and then finally some paddings as well. So let's give it the paddings. That. There we go. Now, because this is gonna repeat twice, it's gonna repeat once here and once here. Let me just move it into its own component in the same file. So let's do that. Okay. Let's move this somewhere else. So above here, I'm just gonna say const menu label, or if you can find a better name, do that. Paste it in there, and it's gonna take in a couple of props. Okay, one is gonna be okay, so the title is gonna come in from here. Okay, title, and the second is gonna be the button text, and let's give it the button text right there, button text. Okay, and you can call menu label right there, right here. Wait, do that. Oops, not that. Do that, and then give it 2 props. So one is the title, which is pinned, and the second is the button text, which is going to be all apps. What did just happen? All apps with probably that error, right? Save. There we go, perfect. Let's just copy and paste this for the recommended and get done with that as well. So it's going to be recommended and more. Okay, more, and recommended. Okay, cool. So we're done with 2 out of the 4 stuff that we need to do, the pinned and the recommended. Now all we need to do is just look through all the apps here, which we already have, and look through some of the apps here. Okay, and it's gonna be pretty quick. Probably like let's skip a timer on it, right? So we're done with the text field. We're done with the pin. We're done with that. Let's do this part next. So the pinned apps, we're gonna import it from somewhere, right? Let's use a stack for it. Stack. And we're going to do a couple things. So direction is equal to row. So basically, this is the stack, right? The direction is going to be equal to row, where like all the apps get pushed to the side of the previous one, and once it reaches the end, go to the next line and do the same thing, and so on and so on for as much as apps they are, right? So we're going to do 18 apps, which is 3 lines, right? Where are we? Right here. So direction of row, flex wrap of wrap. So once it reaches the end and there's no more space, don't go more to the right and create a scroll bar. Go to the next line, right? So that's gonna wrap it, and then a justify content of flex start. Okay, and then finally some styles. Let's give it a margin bottom of 3. See, and in here we can just call the apps, right? I think we have it in the util. It's called pinned apps. Yep, it's called pinned apps, and we're just gonna map through it, and we're going to get an app and something else, right? So we're going to get an app and an index, and let's create this. So let's create this. Okay. Again, it's gonna be a button with an everything is centered. So if you see like it's centered, an icon and the name of the app under it. Let's do that. So I'm going to say that button. Again, you can create your own component for this on a different file, but it will be better to do that, but it's okay. So key is gonna be the app.name or I, okay, or app.name. Like give it a good key. Yeah, let's just do app.name since they're all unique, right? App.name, some styles. Let me close that first of all. Okay, some styles. Before we do the styles, let's do the content inside. So content inside is gonna be a stack. Do I need to do a stack? Yeah, let's just do a stack, right? Spacing of 1. Oops, what did I do? Spacing of 1. Direction of column. Align items of center, and finally justify content of center. Now justify center. Okay, and it's going to have 2 things. So one is an image and one is the text. So let me copy and paste this. So the first thing is going to be the image, okay, and the second thing is going to be the text, right? And we're getting this underline again, so let's just disable it for this entire file. Let's save and see what we get. Something's wrong. It's not proper. Like it's almost there, but it's not proper, right? Let's style. Okay, let's style this button, right, to make it like completely proper. So let's give it a height of 85 px per button, and then let's change the min width. Remember the min width issue we found on the taskbar? So the min width, let's give it a 98, and then let's give it a width of 98 as well, just in case, right? So we're going to make the min width equal to 98 of each button, but just in case if the width is slightly smaller, we're going to force the width to be 98 as well. And the text color should not be blue, it should be white. So color is equal to FFF. Okay, and then let's give it a text transform. I don't want to capitalize everything. Transform of inherit, and finally when I hover, I'm going to copy it from like a previous thing that we did. when I hover, change the background color to the whitish one, not the bluish one that it was. And there we go, like everything looks perfect now. It looks very close to this, except the icons, which are not the same ones, but it looks exactly like that, right? If I go over this, it's going to do the same thing. Maybe the cursor is not supposed to be a pointer, but on a website, like it's supposed to be a pointer. So let's just leave it like that. But yeah, so that's the pinned apps for it's pretty much done. Let's finish off with the recommended apps. Um, am I missing something? Oh wait, I don't need to give it a stack. What if I just do this inside the button? I don't wait. Since the button is right to display a flags, if I do that and I get rid of the stack, and I get rid of this stack, if I do that and say, oh no, so okay, so you can't. It doesn't take a direction of column though. That's the reason why I did it this stack. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Not mine. There we go. So that's the pin dash. Again, move this to its own component to clean up the code. But finally, let's go and do the recommended apps, and that will be all for the component, the start component. Okay, so for the recommended apps, let's think about this, right? So it's a button that takes half the width of the entire row, right? So if this row from here to there is 100%, each button takes half the width. There's some sort of a spacing. So this button ends here, while the next button there's a space, and then it starts from there. Okay? So let's use Material UI's grid. Give each element a size of 6 out of 12, which is half, and have the button as the child. Let's do that. Go back here under the recommended. Let's say grid. Show you guys grid. Okay, this is a display of flags as well, right? But we can give it actual sizes. So for example, like on a smaller screen, give every element this width, on a bigger screen, on a medium screen, and that's how it works. So here I'm gonna show you. So we'll go. Oops, what? No, grid container. We start with the grid container. Grid container. Let's close that up. Okay, let's give it a few things, a few props. So direction is equal to row. It's going to be side by side and not up and down. Flex wrap. We're gonna wrap everything once. Flex wrap. I think by default it does flex wrap it anyway, so we don't need to do this. But let's just do it. Again, my VS Code is frozen. But justify content flex start. My prettify is frozen again. Give it a spacing of 2. And finally some styles. SX. Okay, let's give it a PX of 2 as well. But now it worked. PX of 2. Okay, and so that's gonna create us the outer grid container. But now let's populate it with elements. So we're going to look for something again. So the recommended apps again. That's in the utils dot map, and it's going to give us again 2 things. An app, and an index. Okay, and then let's return something. So we're going to return the grid item. So remember, an item goes inside the container, right? So a grid item, it's giving us an error because we have to give it a key. We can give the key an I or app.name. So I don't even need this I technically if I'm not going to use it. App.name. And then let's say on a small screen it should take up the full width, but once you reach a large screen it should take up 6. So remember, I'm not going to do the medium screen like a tablet screen, but just a mobile and a big screen. 6. And inside we're going to give it a button. So let's do this. The button is going to be the full width of the 6. Okay, some styles sx. So py, so the vertical padding should be 1, the horizontal padding should be 2. Justify content is going to say flex. I'm going to say flex start. Text transform inherit. My prettify does not work, which is maybe that's the reason. Okay, cool. Text transform of inherit, and finally the hover, which I'm just gonna copy and paste again from previously. That so when we hover, it's gonna give it a background color of this.
I keep saying this over and over again, but move this to its own theme since we've used it almost like 5 or 6 times now. This is not good practice. But anyway, so now we have the button. The button is going to have something, right? Let's save it and see what we get. Probably nothing yet since it's empty, right? Save. Okay, there we go. So you see the button. White text probably. We're going to do that. Anyway, inside the button, there's a couple of things. So there's an icon. To the right, there's a text, and the text has a top and a bottom as well. So let's create text for that. So we're going to say stack. Okay. Direct. So this is the outer thing where there's an icon on the left and the text on the right. So direction of row. Align items of center, and then something's wrong. Okay, spacing of 2. Cool. And inside, the first thing is going to be an icon. So let me paste that. Okay, an image, and the right side. So look at this. So the right side, I saved that. So the right side is going to be another stack, which is going to be a text up and down, right? So let's create another stack. Okay, just a display of flex where you can put stuff side by side or up and down, right? Stack, align items, flex starts this time and not to the center, since you want the text to start from the right start and not center it into the middle. Okay, flex start. That's it, and give it a couple typographies. Typography. Okay, variant caption, and then and that's gonna have the app.name. Okay, the second one is going to be almost the same. Let's give it recently added 5 hours ago. Let's just give it recently added as a default text. Recently added. Okay, couple styles to this. The first one is going to be a color of theme.palette, which is not exactly white, it's primary.light. Okay, it's going to be a slightly dark, like that's an inbuilt color by the way. Okay, and then for the second one, let's give it a different color. Let me copy and paste that. Okay, and then let me give it a disabled color. Save. No, it didn't work. Oh, it's text.disabled. So there we go. So this is like not white. So if you look here, it's not exactly white, or is it white? I don't think it's white, but the other one is disabled. So maybe let's give the first one white and the second one light. So let's do that for the second one, and let's just give it white for the first one. So FFF save. Maybe, yeah, that looks so much more like that. Yeah, actually, yeah. Okay, perfect. There we go. So that's the start menu. And if I go into mobile screen, which might not be perfect since we're not building this for mobile and just a desktop app, but when I click on start, it's going to take up the full size and a bit scrollable, right? Maybe we can fix the padding there, but I think this is good enough, isn't it? Right? Perfect. Okay, cool. So again, from medium screen, this is a medium screen, which is a tablet screen. We haven't touched that one, so because we haven't done it, it takes everything of a mobile design. But anyway, so that's this part done, and that took almost an hour on its own. But finally, we're going to go to the last part, which is a desktop apps, and we're going to make the desktop apps look exactly like this, where I'm going to have like maybe 5 apps or something and make it drag and drop. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so for the desktop apps, let's search for React-DND. React-DND. I've used this before, and let's look at examples. So first of all, let me just install this while we look at examples. So let's go back here, stop our server. I did not save this, I don't know why, but let's install it. And while we're installing it, let's look at a few examples. of what it exactly looks like. So I looked at a chessboard tutorial to write my code, but basically you can move stuff anywhere you want, right? So you see how like there's this item right there, you can move it anywhere you want. You can write a logic of where you want to move it, but we're just going to be able to move it anywhere on the screen, even on top of each other. Okay, but you can change the logic, look at their docs, yeah, all of that. So if you look at a single item, you can move stuff in here, and then it will give us an alert, and there's like a whole JavaScript for that. And there's different examples. So basically it allows you to drag and drop elements. Okay, but yeah, let's do it. If it is installed, let's just get started, not waste any more time. All right, npm run dev. Okay, and let's close everything now, and then let's close everything. Let's go inside the containers and the app. The app has nothing right now, right? Okay, cool. So a couple things. A couple things. Okay, so let's start. Okay. Now I'm just thinking. Give me a second. First thing that we want to do is import all the list of apps. Let me create a box first. Okay, let's type in the code first. Okay, create a box. Okay, and then let's give this something sx a width of 100% of 100%. Give it a full height as well. So we're coding the outside box, right? The outside box. It's going to take in the full height and the full width. Okay, so 100% right there. And now we're going to give it a position of relative and put apps on top. Okay, position of relative, and then let's bring in the apps. Okay, so now I'm going to say actually let's import the apps first. I think that's kind of important because we have to parse what we have to import. So the apps, wait, the desktop apps is the same thing as every other apps, right? It just has a name and an icon, but the React drag and drop requires a couple of things. It requires a position of the element, right? So we're going to create a state for that. Say const apps set apps is equal to use state. Initially it's going to be blank. Okay, but let's create a use effect. So when the component is mounted, okay, oops, what did I do? Okay, that, and yes, when the component is mounted, we want to import the apps. So let me do that, right? So let me say const, let's go to temporary app is equal to an empty thing, and then I'm going to begin desktop apps. Okay, dot map. Okay, I'm going to get an app. Okay, so I think an index will be important this time. An app and an index, and let's do something. I'm not returning it, I'm just doing a map, right? So I'm going to say apps app.name is equal to something. Okay, so left is going to be 20px from the left side. The top is going to be something else. There's going to be 100px, okay, which is the height of the app itself, which we're going to create each app button, plus some gap, so plus 20px of a gap between each app, and finally multiply that by I. So because if there's 5 apps, you want to do this like I is going to be 5, like, yeah, wait, use state is not defined. Use state is not defined. Why doesn't my use state import automatically? Use state. Okay, okay, yeah, I'm going to do I times, yeah, that's right, 100. Okay, so the top is going to be, so for every app the function is going to be, so when I is 0 plus 20, so I'm going to show you why, right? Plus 20. So when I is 0, it's going to be a top of 20, and then when I is 1, it's going to be 100 plus 20, so 120. And then when I is 2, it's going to be 200 plus 20, so it's going to be there, and then 300 plus 20, and 400 plus 20, and so on, right? Sorry. And the name of the app is just going to be the app.name, app.name, and the icon is going to be the app.icon. Okay, and then let's set the apps. So after this, let's set the apps to the apps, and when you console log the apps, it's going to look something like that. Okay, so let me show you the console log. Okay, so our initially our apps look like this, right, which is an array of objects with just a name and an icon. We parse that into an object of objects which has icon and the name, but also the element in the screen, like the position on the screen, a top and a left. Okay, so that's there. So we've parsed the apps. Now let's do something else. Now we're going to have to create a function for what happens when you move the app and what happens when you release it. So while you're moving it and once you release it, okay, what happens each time. So we're going to have to write each of those. Let's close this. Let me just make this slightly bigger. Okay, get rid of the console log. There's going to be two functions, right? So const move app is going to be a use callback, and all of this comes from the docs. You can check it out, right? It's going to be use callback that does something, right? So we're going to write in the function in a second, but yeah, let's just give it empty for now. Okay, and the second function is going to be const for what happens when you drop the app. So I'm not going to give it the first one, but the second one is going to be a use drop that comes from React-DND itself. It's a hook that comes inbuilt, and then because I'm copying and pasting it from their computer, sorry, from their website, this is what it looks like. Feel free to pause the video or go into their docs and copy and paste it. But basically, okay, it takes in a drop, and then once you release it, okay, it accepts something and then it drops it. So the drop is going to be a function that comes from there as well. Oh no, it's going to call this drop. Okay, and yeah, it kind of works something like that, where it takes the element for to where you dropped it. So you've dropped it into item, like from the left and from the top of the screen to where you dropped it, and then move box, and the move box is basically going to set our apps to something else. So while we're at it, let's just write it down, right? So when we drop it, so when you drag the element and drop it somewhere, it's going to call that, and once it gets its position, it's going to call the movebox function, which basically just sets the state to drop it somewhere else. Okay, so it's going to set the left and top position of that specific app. But let's do it. So in here, it's going to take in an ID of the app. An ID is just the key which the object had. An ID, it's going to take in the left and the top, right? So ID, left and top, and then this function is going to return something. So we're going to say set apps to something. So we have the old list of apps, okay, and then let's change that. So let's create a temporary variable again. Const apps is equal to old, okay, and then let's say apps, the ID of that app. Let's give it all the same elements, right? Which is going to be apps ID, but then let's update the left and the top to its new position. So it's going to take the left and the top of what it got from the drop. So remember, when you drop it, we're telling it which app we want to move, and then give it its new left and its new top, and we're just updating it here. But I've done something wrong, and it should be that. Okay, right there. And finally, we're just going to return the apps, which is just going to, so remember the set apps, it can take in a callback function which gets in the old list of apps. We're altering the old list and then returning it back, so it's going to set apps to whatever we returned it. But what's the reason for this? Could not find apps. What? Oh, it went away. Okay, it was just slightly there. Okay, cool. Let's save it, and let's finally write, oops, use callback is not defined. Let's import that. Use callback, save. Okay, something else. Move box is not, okay, so it's move app, not move box. I copy the move box from there, and let's do that here as well. Drag drop content. Oh, okay. So if you want to use a drag and drop, you have to give it a context right towards the start. So in our app.js, okay, let's give it a context, okay? So this is what it takes. And again, you can take this exactly from their documentation, paste it here. Okay, let's import a couple things as well. There we go. Save it, and okay, no more errors. Let's close this again. Okay, pause the video, copy and paste that if you want, and yeah, there we go. So we've done all the functionalities that we need to like move an app and drop it. Finally, we only have to actually create the app itself, right? Yeah, so let's do it now. Let's actually create its own components. Since we've been like coding everything on its own file, let's create its own component, right? So we're going to say the component is called app button. Okay, so that's going to be the individual app button. Oops, that goes in here. Okay, app button, let's give it an index.js, index.js, rafce, and then app button. For now, I'm just going to say app, and let's import that here so we don't need to come back to this file again. Okay, so let's look through the apps here. Since it's not an array, it's an object, I'm going to say object.keys to get all the keys from the object, okay, from the app, which is the state.map, okay, and it's going to give us the individual key, and then let's return something. Okay, what we want to return is, first of all, we're going to destructure the elements. Get the left, get the top, get the name, get the icon. Okay, remember that this all comes from the stage itself, right? And it's from the apps. That's the case of the individual app. And then let's return something. So return app button, which is the new element that we created. And let's give it a key, which is the key. Let's give it an ID. Basically, an ID is required from the React-DND to identify what app is being dragged and dropped. Give it the key again. Let's give it the left. So each app is going to have its own left, its own top, its own name, its own icon, right? So let me just copy all of that since we already destructured it. There we go. So we're going to give it the left, top, name, and icon, and let me just import that. Save. I hope we don't need to come back to this file again, right? So we have, how many apps do we have? Okay, apps. You have 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. There we go. Cool. Now let's actually create the button itself, right? It's going to bring in a couple. Wait 1 second. Okay, so let's import the props where it takes in the ID, the left, the top, the name, and the icon. So ID, left, top, name, and icon, and then again, there's going to be a couple functions that we'll have to create, right? But let's actually return the button for now. Button from Mature UI. Let's give it a ref. Okay, the ref is going to be a drag, which we're going to create. Okay, and then let's give it some styles. The position of the button is going to be absolute, since we're creating one on top of the other, right? So absolute, and then we're going to give it its left style, its top style, its color is going to be white, FFF, its text transform is going to be inherit, and then it's going to have a text shadow and the hover that I'm going to copy. But so the text shadow, each button is going to have some tiny bit of shadow for it to like be a bit more visible on top of the whitish area right there. Okay, so text shadow, slightly like blackish with a 90% or 0.1 opacity, and then the hover again, and I'm going to say the same thing again. You know what I'm going to say, move this to its own theme, right? Theme color. But anyway, there we go. So that's the button. The drag does not exist for now, but I'm going to copy and paste this drag item from again the official docs for React-DND. So that's what it is. So there's a use drag hook. Didn't it do this? Oh no, this is drop. So this is when you drag and this is when you drop, right? So use drag, and then it gives us an object which one of the properties is dragging. So if something is dragging, and the actual drag, and yeah, this comes from the docs itself. Okay, so yeah, let's close that. And by the way, if it's dragging, we want to do something, right? Like if it's dragging, we don't want to return anything. So like the reason I do this is because normally while it's dragging, it's going to create a duplicate app, and once you've dropped it, it's going to get rid of that initial app. So you'll see two at the same time. But we want to drag it and like not return anything while it's dragging, right? So just an empty div. Okay, cool. And finally, let's save and see what we got. The icon is missing. Oh, actually, let's just fix that, right? So let's create a stack right here. Stack. What the hell? Okay, let's import that stack from Metro UI. Let's give it a spacing of 1. Let's align the items to the center, and then let's give it some styles. We're going to give it a max width of 50 px for each button, and text align. So we're going to make the text centered. I think it's a center. Yep. And then in here, it's going to take a typography and an image. Okay, so it's going to take. Why is my preacher so slow? I don't get it. I don't get it. I did something wrong. Or did I? Okay, let's fix that. Quick fix, disable it. Okay, save. The icon is missing. The icon is missing. Okay, why is it missing? Let's figure it out. So the text kind of works, but the icon doesn't. So image source is an icon. Let's see if we do get an icon right there. Console.log icon. Is the icon undefined or something? The icon is undefined. Is it not passing it? So icon is undefined. What did I do? Okay. So we're calling. Okay, we did have to come back here, right? So the icon comes from the abstract key. Is the icon undefined here as well? Hmm. Let me console log apps. Console log apps. Okay, what do we get? So all the apps, do apps have an icon? Okay, so yeah, apps do have an icon. So if you see that, it does have an icon, but the icon is not being passed for some reason. Okay, so let's go to where we're mapping, and let's console log icon here. Icon is undefined there. Why is it undefined? Let's do that. Um, hmm. Oh, is it icons and not icon? Oh, it's icon and not icon. There we go. Perfect. So let's try and drag and drop it. Let me close that, and let's try that. Holy moly, just disappeared. Something isn't right. Okay, let's refresh. Something is not wrong. Okay, so something is not wrong. So we can move it, but something is not wrong, right? As in something is wrong. Okay, let's go through everything again. So we have the apps, okay, and the use effects. We do set the apps. That's fine. So all of this is fine. Let's check the move app function, okay? So basically, for the move app, there's a use callback that takes an ID, the left position and the top position, and then it sets the apps to something. So it sets the apps, and then giving it a callback function where it basically const apps. It looks fine. It actually looks fine. What if I just wait? Do I have to give it? Have to do that? No, not really. What if I just copy and paste it from my initial app, and then instead of move box, it's called move app, save. No, let me copy and paste this one as well. Or did I not import it correctly? No. Okay, maybe there's something wrong with the app button. Um, let me copy and paste it all from here, maybe. Okay, use drag comes from React-DND. That's fine. Nope. Guess I'm gonna have to pause the video and maybe come back. Let me just check my imports in the previous one, and I'm sure I'm importing it from. So use drop comes in from React-DND. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Let me pause the video. Wait, I might have figured this out. So, see when we're moving it, there's a red circle cursor which isn't allowing us. So basically, this is not somewhere where we can move to. So we're going to have to give this a ref, okay, of where we can drop it to. So ref drop. We created this drop, but we weren't using it anywhere. So let me save that. I if that fixes it. Oh, there we go. Perfect. There we go. Finally, is it supposed to be? No, it's not supposed to be capitalized, and everything is capitalized right here, right? So let's get rid of that. App button. Text transform inherit. That's supposed to do that. Text transform inherit. Is it capitalized in the utils? Nope, it's not capitalized. So this is not applying for some reason. Hmm. Oh, it's text transform. Okay, perfect. Yep, there we go. Perfect. So I think that's all right. So let me refresh the app. Let's try it all the way again. So we created the drag and drop icons right there where you can drag. Of course, you can drag and drop on top of it, and we shouldn't allow that. So you can use you can check the docs out and work on it. So you can drag and drop it anywhere in the screen. We have the little toolbar, the menu bar, where when you click on it, it will open the taskbar, which looks almost, if not the same as this, right? Almost like that. Perfect. Yeah, I guess that's all for the series. I expected it to be about an hour, but yeah, I think it took about 2 hours. So yeah, good luck on this build. And if you deploy it live, do tag me in the comments, and I'll for sure like reply back. Thank you.